Welcome to the WPL Book Drop Podcast. I'm your host, Becky Miller, Marketing and Circulation Library Assistant, Geriatric Millennial, Animal Lover, and Passive TikTok Enthusiast. Joining us today is Amy Rousselow. She is the library's Marketing and Volunteer Services Manager. She is also a true crime fanatic, Green Bay Packer season ticket holder that has never donned a cheese hat, and a city girl gone country wife, farmer's wife that is. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks. It's great to be here, Becky. I was just trying to think, did I really write that about myself? I guess I did.
Also joining us today is Lindsay Pieters. She is the marketing director at Experience Waterloo, our city's tourist information center, highlighting all the things you can do in Waterloo. Fun fact, Lindsay was part of the inaugural Waterloo roller derby team, the Push-Up Brawlers, and skated for 2 seasons. She loves Thai food and can embarrass her kids in 2 seconds. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you.
And also joining us today is Ana Hanisch. She is the Director of Operations for SingleSpeed Brewing Company, located next to the library on Commercial Street in downtown Waterloo. Ana enjoys participating in community theater and finding other opportunities to perform, such as at the Brazilian Twins holiday shows and Waterloo's RAGBRAI safety videos.
Yes.
Ana has never met a cheese that she didn't like, and she's recently engaged, so congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's start off by letting our listeners know that this episode is going to be all about RAGBRAI coming to town. So if you don't know, RAGBRAI is a biking trek that happens across the state of Iowa each year, and this year Waterloo is the host city on the route. Wednesday, July 28th, they're going to be coming into town. We're expecting thousands of riders, volunteers, and supporters in downtown Waterloo, which is going to be fun. But obviously a lot of planning goes into that kind of thing. So let's begin with you, Amy. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at the library and what the library is planning for RAGBRAI?
Well, of course, Becky. As the marketing manager, I guess my primary responsibility is really to promote the library, its services, and its events. I do this through the website, through our newsletters, media relations, and also outreach. For RAGBRAI, I think first and foremost, the library is so excited to be part of this downtown community that is welcoming thousands of riders into our city. A fun fact about RAGBRAI riders is that a lot of them seek out the libraries and librarians as they're familiar places because most communities have them. So our role that day will be really to provide, first and foremost, a cool building. Don't they always say that RAGBRAI is ridden during the hottest week of the year? So we're happy to offer that. Access to computers and printers to connect riders with their family and friends and maybe help them plan their next stop. What we do and do well, information and directions. We plan on giving a lot of those out. Restrooms with flushing toilets, always a luxury. Electricity for device charging, and really just a place to unwind and recharge after a long day on a bike. And I think most importantly, the library's meeting rooms will serve as the downtown medical facility for the riders, volunteers, and supporters who are here for the events. One thing that I would like to mention, this is especially for our library patrons, is that RAGBRAI is consuming an awful lot of real estate downtown. Accessing the library will be difficult that day, and parking around will also be difficult. So we have made sure that no materials that have been checked out will be due on that day. So while we invite you down to take part in all of the festivities, you won't have to return your books.
Very good. And then the library, I think, is going to be open an extra hour that day?
Right. Our hours that day will be from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. just to help accommodate some of the riders and their needs.
Great. Lindsay, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for Experience Waterloo and about your involvement with the RAGBRAI event coming to downtown, and maybe how many visitors can we expect to find at these festivities?
Thanks, Becky. We are expecting over 15,000 registered riders. That does not include the support vehicles. And of course, the public, the Waterloo community, the Cedar Valley community, all of Eastern Iowa the whole state, everyone is invited to come to downtown Waterloo that night. So it's going to be a really big event. And Experience Waterloo, which is the promotional office for tourism for Waterloo specifically, is facilitating the overnight stop for RAGBRAI. So it really goes hand in hand with what Experience Waterloo does, which is promoting our city and all the things it has to offer. So we're especially excited to showcase all the things that have been developed downtown, like our amphitheater, like our expo plaza. But not only that, there's probably some new restaurants that people haven't been to, and we are gonna have the typical food trucks and that type of thing for everyone to come down, but we're also promoting the restaurants that are walkable from this downtown space and the bars, and that goes for all of downtown. We really want people to explore downtown Waterloo. And that's not to say that we aren't leaving out the rest of Waterloo, because, you know, some people might go out to Lost Island, some people might go to George Wythe, some people might just tool around town on their bikes. We don't know exactly, but obviously the highlight, because the event space is downtown, is really just where it's at. And ultimately, we hope that all these people that are coming here, maybe for the first time and maybe for the second time, are like, you know what, I'm coming back. And I do also want to mention that we're also promoting the walkable museums that will also be nearby the event space. So when everyone comes to town, go eat in the restaurant, and then you can walk to the Grout. You can walk to Silos and Smokestacks. You can walk to the Phelps and the Waterloo Center for the Arts and the John Deere Museum. Those are all right here, and it's really perfect.
Yeah, you've got the Dan Gable Wrestling
And
Museum
thank
too,
you, yes.
as well.
Yep.
So where are all these riders going to be staying? Do you know?
Yeah, so the main campground, which will be hosting around 5,000 people, will be at Exchange Park, and that's right next to Buck Stadium. So that's kind of called a general campground. There are charter groups that have between 200 and 1,000 people each, and they have their own whole support system with vehicles and such. Those people will stay at Sans Souci and at Tibbetts and Waterworks Park. There is, obviously some people will stay in a hotel to catch a break. Some people will try and stay in someone's yard. There's a lot of options, but the campgrounds is in an official capacity are Exchange, Waterworks, and Tibbetts.
What kind of events will people find down here?
We have 2 music stages. The main stage being at the Expo Plaza. Music will start at 3 o'clock and will go all the way until midnight. Our theme is a Waterloo experience, and you can see the word Prince in the word experience. And our headliner is the Purple Experience, featuring Marshall Charloff and Prince Tribute Band. And then we will also have Stackhouse and the Diplomats leading up to that time slot. Then we also have an amphitheater stage, walkable right between the two, right next to the library, obviously, or right behind it. And we are featuring music from 5 until 9 there, and obviously people can also get beer over there and chill on the amphitheater grass and stage. Kevin Burt will be leading up until 9 o'clock there. And then I did also want to mention that Marks Park, which is the splash pad right by the amphitheater, we're going to have a little Purple Rain station there, so riders can cool off in the fountain there as well. We're looking at axe throwing, we're looking at pedal carts, we're looking at those activities, like I mentioned, along with the museums. There's going to be a lot to do down here.
Yeah, and I heard that there's like some kind of a sculpture being done. Is that true?
Yeah. So we are having some sculptures made out of recycled bikes, and those are sort of archways as the entrance, which is near SingleSpeed. They will be driven right into the street, right into the concrete, and there will be 4 different archways that will be completed and put up for that day. When they're taken down, they will be made permanent fixtures for different cycling trailheads around the Cedar Valley. So it's kind of cool that those will be used forever.
Wow. So are those are really large then? You can like go under them with your bicycle?
That's
like
correct. There's enough clearance, no worries. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's just in time for Commercial Street will be torn up right after
that.
that.
And that kind of worked out well, that we're allowed to be able to just drive them right into the ground.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you don't know, Commercial Street will be under construction, I think the first week of August, so look for that, and we'll have more information about that coming. But you did mention SingleSpeed, that's where that sculpture is going to be, so that leads us to Ana. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at SingleSpeed and then what you guys are planning for RAGBRAI?
Yes, I can. So my title is Director of Operations, and that is basically a fancy way of saying that I do a lot of different stuff throughout the day, and there's not very many days that are like another. So oversee both of the tap rooms in Waterloo and Cedar Falls. I'm usually the point person for anything that the community wants us to come be a part of. And then there's like our larger major events, like our Beer Mile and our Feel and Sour Fest, all that stuff. I'm kind of one of the lead people on that. So, and as far as that day goes, we are pulling out, or we pulled the permit for the parking lot so that we could have service out there. Because you figure we have a cycling theme, there's going to be a few folks that want to come. So we're going to just make sure that they've got space for that. So just amping up our staff, making sure that we can still provide a single speed experience, but not necessarily it's not altered like too much. So hoping that we can make that happen.
Yeah, and you guys usually do events a lot of the year with bicyclists going back and forth between the tap rooms that you have. So you're used to this, and like you said, it's your theme. So you are having like a very welcoming opportunity here for these riders to get to know about your business and possibly make return trips again. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So do you guys have enough staff, you think, to pour all these beers that these cyclists are going to want to have?
I think we can do it. Yep. Yeah, we've got, there's plans for cans, tubs of cans, and then, I mean, you can only pour beer so fast, so as long as we just, I mean, I'm sure they'll all be just open all day, and then we'll just cycle out the glasses. But
and then you'll have enough beer, of course.
Yes, hopefully.
Hopefully. Get there early, folks. So is there anything else that anybody wants to share about RAGBRAI before we move on to talking about the books that we've brought today?
I did just want to do a plug for volunteering, and that we can use several people the day before on Tuesday. We can use your help setting up campgrounds, setting up the event space. Everyone will get a free t-shirt and one free beer, and we will also need people the day of being campground hosts, helping riders with getting to where they need to be, and then also information. And then of course the day after, we need your help cleaning up. But all of these things, we just want to again emphasize that showcasing Waterloo also means showcasing the people and the welcoming that entails all a part of this event.
That's great. So where can someone find out how to volunteer, or even just more information about what's going to be happening?
If you go to experiencewaterloo.com, you'll see a couple places where you can click through for the RAGBRAI information, and it goes through volunteering or where the campgrounds are and much more.
Okay, great. And then they'll have the, so all the volunteering information will be there,
Yep.
and all the event information will be there as well,
Correct,
so you
correct.
can find out which stage you want to be at when
Right.
the time comes.
Exactly.
Excellent. So let's take some time to spotlight some books that you've each brought, that you've read recently. And Amy, do you want to start?
I would love to start. Well, I have to make a confession. I rarely read, but I do listen, and I listen often. So my latest audiobook find was called The Wife Upstairs, which we also do have in book form, and it is by Rachel Hawkins. So I really enjoyed this, and it's a very loose take on the very famous Jane Eyre, but it's set in modern day Alabama. So it has kind of everything that you want in a summer read. It's got murder, it's got ambition, it's got love, and it's packed full of all these twists and turns that will keep you guessing really until the end. And I literally could not stop listening to this book. I listened in my car, I listened when I was making dinner, I listened when I was in the shower. I just couldn't stop. So thumbs up.
And you got that one through the library's
Oh yes,
app?
and I found it in audiobook form on our app Hoopla.
Hoopla. Okay, so if you are a card holder, you can get that title right away for free through the Hoopla
There's
app.
no waiting.
So let's go ahead and ask Ana, what book did you bring today?
I brought the book by Dave Barry called Lessons from Lucy, The Simple Joys of an Old Happy Dog. And for our listeners at home, it's just small little stories written by Dave Barry, a comedian, about just ways that he's like looked at his dog and thought, that's how I could use that in my life. So, finding joy in small treats, or just always being happy to see the people that you love, no matter if you saw them 20 seconds ago or 20 days ago. So, it's I got it for Christmas actually from my father, and I'd say that pretty much sums up what he's tried to teach me too. So
Wow, that's a great read. I love that.
it's really sweet. Yeah.
Does it make you cry though?
There were a few spots maybe
Yeah.
that I got a little bit
Yeah.
little choky throat ball about it, but it was
Yeah.
good.
So I'm like, it's lessons from his older dog, and I'm like, did the dog die?
I won't tell you.
This isn't Marley and me.
Yeah, it's not hard. No.
Some of us can't take it.
And I love that it touched Anna like that. The message did, because you are a cat mom.
I am.
See? So it transcends,
It does.
It's pet ownership.
Yeah, you don't have to have a dog. to
Right.
Appreciate it. That's good.
It'd be different if it was written from a cat perspective.
It really would be different.
Yeah, that's funny.
Don't feel like you have to do anything for anyone.
Ever.
All right. And Lindsay, you want to share the one that you brought?
Sure. I picked Educated by Tara Westover. It is a true story based on a woman growing up in a family that did not think that education or medicine were important or real, and her interest in kind of seeking outside of what her family taught her, and she got books and she sought out different life experiences, but then also that pull of how strong your family's influence is on you, and kind of thinking about other people's perspectives of why maybe the way they are, but just really, really interesting different aspects of a family and how they live. I don't know how to describe it any more than that. It's just amazing what she went through, and then ended up at some Ivy League schools, being as uneducated as she was, ended up in highly educated world, and her story around that.
Before the podcast began, you kind of talked a little bit about what some of those experiences were in higher ed, and specifically the mention of the Holocaust and how she didn't know.
Yeah, because she didn't go to school. I don't remember what grade. She was only allowed to go through not a high grade at all, and so was never taught about history and went to college and was sitting in a class and actually raised her hand and said, "What's the Holocaust?" And the professor thought she was kidding and then thought she was being mean, and she really didn't know. It was an eye-opening experience for her, and she kind of talks through that, and so it's an amazing story.
I have to second that. I did read that a couple of years ago, and it personally for me, it made me feel really grateful for my upbringing, in that I didn't have to have that kind of an upbringing. I just can't imagine. It was just to not even be allowed to have, books and, educate yourself, and some of the things that she went through was just very traumatic. But yeah, good read. So I want to thank you all for joining us today on the WPL Book Drop podcast. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
We'll have more information about volunteering or learning about RAGBRAI on the description of this podcast. Thank you.